Alright guys, Matthew. I haven't posted in a while. Been busy. This is a target pool session walkthrough of target 99637968. I worked this on the 19th of April. This is going to be a walkthrough of my paper session, and I also did a short whiteboard session on this. So let's get into it. My first part of the session, personal inclemencies and advanced visuals. I had a headache and cold symptoms doing this. My first perception was this person laying down, this idea of laying down, and a brief outline. Produced an ideogram, and I also had a idea of this sword perception. I had an AOL of a big sword, and that was the first page on this. Moving on to page 2, I had a few sketches. I was getting this idea of this rubber sucker at the top. This idea of a coupler, this type of coupler. I had AOL of a refueling rig. Didn't know where I was going with this at this point. Next perception ideogram was of this long vehicle with this sucker to the end type of idea. And I couldn't shake this idea at the bottom right of this in motion feel. Like a sweeping feel, something coming in and out like that. Idea of swooshing liquid in and out. And that's what I was getting on this page. Right, moving on to page 3. Page 3 is a idea of this sort of thing I able to train with the face. This thing with drop down sides on the front. Don't know where I was going with it, what I was trying to explain here. I had the word flays. This suction vacuum sort of concept was strong. I wrote an inconsolable, whether it upsets people. I had a break there. I wrote on break, resume. And I come back, produce an ideogram, and I had this perception of this outline of a figure and an AOL of being propped up again. This idea of someone laying back like that. This idea of that. So that's what I was getting here. Right, moving on to page 4. I had a look on Blackboard and I saw briefly what I've sketched. This idea of this object in the middle with two, what I thought were guards left and right looking outwards. That's all I can describe it as. Didn't get a good look. And that was that page. I'm moving on to page 5. I had this idea of this support object for I had this idea of a person or a removable head support pan. So something for someone to lay on or in a bit. This idea of this removable head support pan, I had an AO of being used a lot. This idea of a sample link to it for sampling. I'd have an EI break there. Come back, and I was getting this idea of this movable propped up bed type of thing, or a casket, an impression on this movable object. I had this AO of a kid's caterpillar toy where you can move them around, or it's propped up in stages. I wrote down words: entrusted, severe, iconic, tempest, and tronic linked to this. Could just be buzzing around my head. Mean nothing. Page 6 now. I was getting this sucker candidate sort of impression. Top sucker harvesting come to mind. I would on Beastard's nefarious nature to this. It'll kill you. Like a resource. It's seen as a resource. It's weird sort of feeling to this. And AOL have used and abused. So it's not very nice. This part is not nice. I'm moving on page 7. I had this idea of this hillside. I just get this zigzag energy pattern prominent. This emanations coming from this dome feature at the top. Where I produced an ideogram and another sketch, and I wrote down here, but it projects up, left and right up a bit into the air. And I had this word "intowed," and I'm not sure what that is. Just wrote it down, and that was that page. Where were we? Page 8. Yeah. I had this idea of this drawing, drop-in feeling of this energy affecting this thing at the bottom, outwards, an outwards way, in a disturbed way I wrote down, and I had a sort of swooping perception like this. So whether it's projecting outwards to the side, not sure. So going down, I had this other perception of this channels around and out type of feel again, like you have a boat shape. So whether something comes in, goes round and out. That's all I was getting. Yeah, it's none of it makes sense. Just the perceptions I experienced. Moving on to 9, I had this hill image perception at the top. Reminding me of a snake to look at. Not that clear. Crisscross on the back of it a bit. It's getting this idea of Vex as a possible name. I wrote on Constitute. But that's the name of something it's linked to or looks like. Middle sketch is the same thing as well, I think. And the bottom I sketched this face. Or it was a perception of someone lying down. I've done Trosbone, I don't know what that is. Anyway, I have a person in bed type of idea to this. Like someone laying like that. Link to this, and that's all I got on this page 9. Moving on, page 10. And this AOL area of land, this hill perception again, wrote down like an area at the top, important. I was getting this AOL of Roswell, this sort of, well, just this AOL that come in to clear it. Bottom perception, this idea again of this specific space. It sort of indented it, like I was getting this like indentation for a person type of feel to this, on a sort of a raised area. Other than that was this page done. By page 11, is getting these buildings linked to this elongated platform on the side, like a step feel to it on the right hand side, like a tiered steps going up. Complex structure, solid, and is linked to this. That's what I wrote down. It had 2 prongs on it, a step sucker device, and an arches below. And this idea of this flow, something flowing near it. Yeah, so it doesn't make sense, but that's what came up. That's the date I perceived. The last page of my paper session was 12. I was getting this, like, at the top, this important symbol perception of this, like a figure 8 type of idea was coming. I took a couple of sketches of that and I wrote down continuum, ever revolving and constant. So this continuous pattern, this idea come to mind. And a bit of a mind map. I wrote down saw in the middle, costly, wondersome, secret not to know, elevated hot. I don't know what the top one is then. I can't read my writing. Elevated mind, energetics linked to this, towering, telepathic nature feel, chosen, not to know, weird. And I don't know what the other one is. Yeah, so that was my paper session done. The whiteboard session will follow. Thanks for watching. Right, first part of my whiteboard session, I was getting this idea of these structures on the left, this idea of this like higher part which is higher up. This AOL of a towel, this idea of like a blanket covering it come to mind. On the bottom I had this structure of this with this step feature. I wrote down complex and it had multiple layers to it, so that was that. Right, moving on, I had this perception of this mountainous area with buildings, this AOL of military involvement, and this I wrote down selected area, AOL of Canada, and that was that. Right, next part of my whiteboard session was this area. I wrote down grid pattern. This like specific grid was hidden below. That's what I wrote down. This idea of this complex link structure that leads off. I wrote down to other ones, and I had this perception of these boxes. I wrote down boxes concealed. Very strange this, and that's what I was getting. Yeah. Right, moving on to this next part. Takes a weird turn. I'm not sure how much I trust this from now on. I was getting this perception of this person in this hazmat suit at this console. Eyes are fixed forwards, not looking down what they're doing. What did I write down? Protective suit feel. And there was also another perception of someone laying down. This idea of this person's used to stabilize something. A type of feel. I had to have an experiment, like flowing, this energy flowing, sparks, and an energetic feel to it. Right, last off for this whiteboard session, I had this perception of this person using this device with a gap in it at the top to place their hand in. I had an AOL of biometrics, and I wrote down hand activates. Below I was getting this area of land with noticeable ridges to it, and that is the area linked to this. And that's all I had on this target. That concludes my whiteboard session.